All right, it is currently 4:27 p.m. You will see from the still images that I captured a while ago, this is engineered light. In other words, it is impossible light activity that you have seen iterations of, not only in the same location, but literally all over the property. Everywhere that I go, I'm showing you what is the maintenance of engineering, which is where group stalking is underway. The blinds are closed, and again, the current time is 4:28 p.m. The entity is maintaining a light source in a distinct region, such as the Ovid Family Community Library, literally remaining over my head while I'm inside of the building of the Upland Public Library at 450 North Euclid Avenue, where it's present in the morning until the evening when I walk outside. The entity is maintaining a light source for the duration of the day, stalking by helicopter. This is where the entity is engaged in state surveillance, and that's exactly what the Los Angeles Police Department has continuously engaged in, flying over my apartment, flying around my apartment while engineer light fills the apartment. That's the federal prosecution for group stalking. And the entity is not doing it by themselves as a corrupt law enforcement agency. They're doing it in concert with the people who are maintaining presence all around on foot, in the buildings, and in traffic, maintaining presence while an engineered environment remains. And I want to document it's currently 4:29 p.m. And this is engineered light that's appearing on the bed as well. So it's appearing both above and below. And I also want to show you what is the light source that's outside of the window, as though that would be the sun creating that light activity both above and below, and as though that would be the sun that is none of this is sunlight that you're seeing shooting like a laser going upward and downward inside through closed blinds. Also the same light source. This is the entity is supposing that the sun is going to be present, rising in alignment to my apartment through the living room window at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. The entity is maintaining a light source directly over my bedroom window and not in any position that's going to be in alignment to my office. When I'm at my office, I'm not turning around to face this direction to capture the light source over building 1818, which is where it's at now. When I'm at my office, the entity is maintaining the light source, and it is over where that palm tree is. And you see the light source directly, and that's also where the LAPD is group stalking, crossing path over there, flying over my office, as opposed to what the entity is doing. It's flying over my apartment, flying in alignment to my apartment. That's what you saw the entity doing, flying in relevant position, pacing, flying in a circle in alignment to my apartment. The entity's been doing this all day long, and neither is that sunlight that would pierce through this window going both up and down with what is light that's appearing in the shape, the pattern of the blinds. Above, it's the horizontal pattern. Below on the bedspread, it's the vertical pattern. These patterns that with regard to the connection of the blinds. This is speaking to what is maintaining engineered light. This is documentation of the sex offense. In the same way that group stalking in the helicopter is documentation of the sex offense, in the same way that demonic pacing and engineered light, like you saw Sean Jung engaging in while the light source was over the same apartment, that was at 11:10 in the morning when I captured that video. So let's capture the, let's count the hours, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is currently 4:30 p.m. That's 5.5 hours. And that's how you know that that is stalking in the path, using a vehicle as a means of light activity while they're engaged in surveillance, listening to everything that I am saying as I say it, group stalking in a parking lot, what an entity is doing on an ongoing basis, driving in and out of the parking lot, engaging in surveillance, sitting in their vehicles, which is what you saw Melania Padilla and the demon possessed. Again, Melania Padilla is demon possessed also, but this is demon possession engaging in surveillance in laundry rooms. This is demon possession engaging in surveillance, living at an address where you can maintain obsessive presence around someone and stalk with noise, stalk with presence, including as you are sexually motivated to do so with knowledge that that target individual is physically indisposed or engaging in private activity, which is what, again, you witnessed the sex offender Kim Jong of 1806 number 5 and her demon-possessed son, Sean Jong of 1806 number 5, you saw pacing while he was walking on the sidewalk. His shadow was immediately beneath him, which is speaking to the immediacy of that light source. This is the same apartment building. The sun would never be in the same position where I'm looking at it outside of my window. And 5.5 hours later, in addition, the engineered light that you see appearing on my ceiling is not sunlight. The sun that is above us is not creating light such that it's coming downward and then also shooting horizontally through and then upward on my ceiling and then downward spreading across my floor, as you've seen the engineered light. And then also while you're inside of my apartment, inside of my apartment on the ceiling, you're looking at it ricocheting off of objects outside to create any sort of light activity that's not sunlight. This is what's covering the property. And this is how you know that these are sex offenders engaged in massive surveillance. All right, the entity is maintaining presence, surveillance, and activity creation through the systematic means of traffic. Those are demons that know exactly where the target individual are at. They're maintaining activity with real-time knowledge of everything that I say and I do, including while physically indisposed, and the entities maintaining audible activity, relevant positioning, and light activity in the psychotic method that you see. Walking outside to pace in front of me on video at 11:10 in the morning, maintaining presence in a parking lot, sitting in a car, waiting for the moment to engage in what is pacing conduct using your vehicles, engaging in what is psychotic stalking in helicopters, awaiting the moment where they can get away, thinking that they'll get away in doing so, and group stalking in the same exact specific environment, crossing path, maintaining alignment, pacing in helicopters like you see the LAPD doing. This is the engineered environment where there would be no sunrise and sunset. And this is what I've been capturing against as of January of 2023. And even as I'm reviewing, for example, evidence of the sunrise that I captured through my living room window, reaching into the depths of my bedroom on February 23rd, 2024. And that's just one example I'm reviewing. And I'm going to also give you a screen recording because you're going to see the exact same light activity at 4 o'clock in the afternoon while the light source is on this side of the apartment, which has nothing to do with sunlight. And also you're going to pay attention to not only duration of time analysis, also juxtaposing the crime scenes together. The light source is in an entirely different region, so you're remembering that body of evidence that remains. And then you're also remembering the fact that the entity is maintaining that same pattern of light activity on my ceiling in the morning where I'm showing you the sunrise. And so I'm going to do a screen recording right now so you can see that. And that has nothing to do with the daylight savings time, which is only giving and taking 1 hour. So like I said, the engineered light that you're looking at on my ceiling and then down on a downward trajectory on the floor, on my bed, while the blinds are closed and it's magnified in size, that has nothing to do, that's purely, and like I said, all of this is purely directed light. But like I said, when you see those ridiculous, spectacular iterations of directed light, I want to be clear, you're looking at what is the entire environment is covered in that. And in addition to that, those are very, very highly probative iterations of what is the criminal system. And this is where you're looking at that engineered light. This is where the entity is stalking as the state. This is where the entity is stalking in concert with the people of the state. And this is documentation of what is ongoing impunity. Todd Speaker, not only are his employees deemed possessed, which is relevant for terrorism in the workplace, they are sex offenders group stalking and engaging what is harassment as an entity, engaging what is also psychological torture that's going to be recognized with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring by the entity in the workplace. And this is where you have a demon-possessed group stalker that's in a position of so-called leadership. Okay, this is somebody that's threatening your life and then wanting to play a role as your supervisor while they're group stalking with the state. And then keeping their back to you. That's the psychopath that's group stalking you in every way, targeting you and keeping their back to you as though they are doing something else. Not that it's any less threatening for that demon-possessed group stalker to address you with audible activity, but the psychopath. The pattern of conduct is such that the targeted individual is supposed to be imagining the fact that they are being pursued by the entity. And none of that works amongst engineered light. None of that works amongst the heavily documented stalking by the state. None of that works with the sunrise and the sunset at one address. And yet you're still looking at what is a delusional psychopath group stalking in the workplace. And Todd Speaker's pockets are going to be drained for that. Speaker Companies is not going to survive. Not even the reputation. After I drain the pockets. And that's just a matter of justice, okay? That company doesn't deserve to survive by being the malicious guise under which state terrorism is underway. And that's exactly what Speaker Companies is. And that's why my apartment is the placement of a light source and not the sun, because there is no sun that's over anyone in Florida, in Las Vegas, in Missouri, in Texas, which I believe there's flooding going on right now in Texas. But you're understanding what is the absence of the natural environment. There's no sun that's over them on the freeway like you saw in the afternoon yesterday. While I'm showing you the light source that's over me, there's no sun over these news anchors. That's the light source over them. And you're understanding what is the crime scene for what is group stalking that's occurring not only throughout the state of California, but in this country. Because while I'm showing you the light source that's over me here through my bedroom window, this is not the sun that's over any news anchor in Minnesota or in Canada while you're looking at them and they're standing in sunlight. And you're looking at their shadow. You're looking at the shadow of the vehicles while they're driving all around. And you're looking at what's occurring, what's directly above me, and also the engineered light. So this is speaking to not only is that not the sun based on the evidence of the documentation of the light source and the duration of time analysis, it's not the sun because you're looking at the impossible light activity and it's not distinct from what you're seeing that's covering all of the property. And this is just revealing what is a demonic environment and the demon possessed. And what are the demon possessed doing? They're psychopaths who are exceedingly violent sex offenders engaging in what is going to be federally prosecuted as terrorism, because a demon-possessed population keeping you under surveillance is terrorizing in every regard. And their delusional engagement in what is keeping their back to you while they are in every way showing that they are obsessively stalking you because they're maintaining presence in the path while they want to appear as though they're not, and nobody is persuaded by that. That's why they're not moving. Okay. And by not moving while you're flying in alignment, that's called stalking in the path obsessively in helicopter. While you're driving up and down Alvarado, Lucy Santos is going to federal prison for a very long time while this ongoing impunity is being documented as an entity. And Todd Speaker, his pockets are going to be drained while you're documenting impunity. They're not driving in sunlight. They're not driving under the sun. They're engaged in ongoing obsessive group stalking as a population. And as far reaching as you see this engineer light over these properties up here, they're all going to be prosecuted. This is a crime committed by a community, and they're acting in concert while the LAPD is documented every minute that they're flying over my apartment and amplifying audible activity, which is criminal in the engineered environment. That's why the light source and engineered light is here. And the entity is doing so while they're monitoring the documentation that I can continue to accumulate. Every demon that's crossing path at Silverview Townhomes, crossing path on Alvarado Street, crossing path in the parking lot, engaging what is surveillance sitting in their car, engaging in surveillance in the laundry room, strategically waiting to cross path like the demons that they are, at once engaging what is ongoing psychotic corporate monitoring. All right. And this whole property is going to federal prison for it. It is currently 4:38 p.m. This is the light source that's not the sun. Not possibly the sun. Not only because I'm documenting a sunrise, which is what I captured, by the way, on February 23rd, 2024 here, but it's also because the entity is maintaining a light source way before I relocated to LA, never came anywhere near this location. And there is no sun that's going to be present outside of my living room window at the same time or at any time where the entity is maintaining a light source over me. For example, at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, where I'm waking up, where I'm driving past that museum in the afternoon, the light source is remaining over my head on public transportation, and then I'm going back to that museum in the evening, and the entity is flying over my head in a helicopter, and the light source is still at that Ontario Museum at 225 South Euclid Avenue. That's the pattern of conduct. And that's why you will engage in what is federally raiding. You're talking about a community that's going to be subject to a raid, and they're all going to federal prison. And that's exactly what is a matter of justice with regard to the impunity that is easily accomplished while you have a whole community act in concert with the demons that want to live at the address. All it makes them are easy to find. Okay, the federal government's not going to have a hard time finding them, and they're all going in cells. All right, it is currently, again, 4:39 p.m., and this is P.O.C.